All right, we are back in another amazing episode. I'm really excited for this one. My guest today is Marta Ponsko, who is a
Correct.
maternity and portrait-based photographer in Warsaw, Poland. Marta, your work is amazing. Thanks for joining
Thank you
us.
very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to this broadcast because it's a fabulous opportunity for me to show off not only myself but also my work. So, thank you for this opportunity and for compliments regarding my work.
Yeah, when I first saw your work, I immediately thought Jake Hicks may have started maternity, but I was like, no way he would ever do that. And of course, you have your own unique style, but I do
Mhm.
see some influence from Jake Hicks. So it's really vibrant. You're using a lot of like neon colors, and you're mixing that with maternity, which I haven't seen. Like I'm kind of used to seeing a very almost like Sue Bryce maternity, kind of like over and over, and you've like
Mhm.
really brought a really unique style to it, which I love. So let's maybe start from the beginning. Like, how long have you been a photographer? How did you get into it? And like, give me the backstory.
So I started around 8 years ago, and I started because my husband suggested that I should do something different than work for a company that I worked before. I was the marketing director in a logistic company, so traveling a lot, responsible for a couple of countries, and that didn't go along with having a family. So he suggested that maybe having something that I truly love, and that was actually photography. And I decided to switch from being a corporate worker, white collar, into a lone ranger photographer. So that's how it started. It was purely business decision, I must say, because I grew up from marketing and business and management area in the business. So I just made the market research on what area of photography is in need, what's the demand for what kind of services, and it was a moment when newborn photography became very popular in Poland. So I decided to become a newborn photographer, having no experience with newborns before. So that's the beginning of the story.
Yeah, newborn photography. That's actually kind of how I started the company. Was with newborn photography and Stephanie Cotta. She was a
Oh,
local
nice.
photographer here in St. Louis, and she was, this is like back in the day when you made a post on Facebook, everyone saw it.
Mhm.
So I filmed the first course myself. I had like two cameras up and I'm running around and like watching her pose all these babies. And I'm like, oh my Lord, how are you doing this? Like moving the babies all around. And I'm like, are you not hurting these babies?
Yeah,
it was,
but
it was
it's
so
very
mindful.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but once you
you started with newborn photography, and how long did you do that? And do you still do it?
I did it 3 years. For the first 3 years of my photography career, I did only newborns, like every single day. And then I decided to switch smoothly to maternity photography. And just a couple of weeks ago, I decided to finally give up newborn photography because it takes so much time and space in my studio that I don't have time for what I truly love, which is portrait photography and maternity as well. So I got rid of all the newborn accessories, and now I'm only teaching newborn photography. I don't do newborns anymore.
Man, so your clientele and your demand must be huge because you've got a client who's pregnant, and you're giving her photos, who's going to want photos in a few months, and you're going to do you tell them no? Are you like, nope, sorry, don't do it?
Well, yeah, actually, yes. Right now, I'm just sending them to my colleagues. So that's how I do it. I prefer when they come back for portrait sessions rather than newborn sessions.
That's awesome. And are you charging like session fees? Are you, how are you billing your clients?
I'm charging a session fee, and then I've got like a package including certain amount of pictures. And if my customers want to buy more, then they pay per additional picture on top of their package. So this is like basically I try to keep it very simple for my customers, not to have like three different packages, bronze, gold, and platinum, or something like that, but just have one because I believe that simplicity in working with photographer is key.
Yeah, that I love that. So how has your work changed with maternity? Did you start out doing colored gel, or did you, introduce that in the last few years?
Well, I started with that at the very beginning, but it was not very popular. Like 7 years ago, it was like no one introduced that at that level, especially in maternity photography. It was very popular in other genres of photography, like portraits or fashion. But for maternity, I remember the first comments from my potential customers, and even from my husband, who's the first judge of all my pictures. He said, like, that blue skin, green skin, those weird colors. I'm not really sure if you can sell it. That was his opinion. And at the very beginning, it was very difficult to convince potential customers to get something extraordinary, something that is not in fashion on the market. But I gradually got used to my customer base, to a new style that I implemented, and here I am. So it worked. The strategy was successful, because right now I have customers who are coming to my studio just for this type of photography that resembles like posters from movies,
Yeah.
posters from TV series. They are not the type of photography you hang above the on the wall, but not in the living room, but maybe somewhere to decorate the room in other places. Yeah.
Well, I see you're hanging it on your wall.
Yeah, I got it.
Is it just everywhere? Are you in like where you like do in-person sales, or what room are you in now?
Yes, this is my studio, so I got it here and on the wall over there. I present different materials, different type of wall art, to show my customers what are the best options for their home. So what kind of material they should have on their walls. And this is a good way of upselling services.
Yeah, yeah. So I know for a fact that Europeans are way more free than Americans. So are a
Oh,
lot of
really?
your clients like are a lot of your clients actually buying prints like that and hanging them in their house?
Well, most of them rather buy something that is called folio box. So there are prints with frames that they can put on the shelves, and they prefer albums than having this on the wall. So yeah, this is not like the key product that I'm selling, but still, it's creates a nice amount of income.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how long have you been doing, I guess, the sales and the print side? Did you start with that from the very beginning, or is that something you added along the way?
I added it on the way. With newborn photography, it was very difficult to sell something on top of just the basic package and digitals. And I changed also my selling system from selling the galleries, the pictures from the galleries. Right now, I do IPS, so interpersonal sales. That allows me to sell more of products and also pictures by having my customers here in the studio and addressing their concerns, issues, and doubts, and also showing them the possibilities that they can have from printing their photos in different ways, like albums or, for example, wall arts.
Yeah. For your clients, I think a lot of our audience and a lot of people that are getting into it always have to have an objection or a response to people that are like, "Oh, this is too expensive. I can't afford it." So, like,
Mhm.
what are some of your tactics or ways where you like, if someone says it's too expensive, like, what do you say in return to that?
Like, you mean the product is too expensive or the session is too expensive?
I mean, either one. That's, I think, the number one thing that photographers struggle with. So, like, what advice do you have to like, help people realize the value of like your services and like the products that are
Yeah.
going to live forever, that sort of thing?
I think that when I'm selling my session, I'm starting the sell process with my website, because most of my customers do the research online first before they reach me. And it's very popular here that no one calls you just, without understanding what's your offer beforehand. So the website should include all the information that is needed for starting the decision-making process. So the value proposition, the description of how the studio looks like, who you are, how you behave, what sort of person you are. And then the next stage is the phone call or the email. So I think that I skip the process of answering doubts connected with the price, because they already know the price.
Okay,
The price is
cool.
there on my website. So thanks God, I have only inquiries from those who already, let's say, are halfway there to make the final decision. So they just want to know some tiny details about the collaboration. I think social media helps a lot with selling, because I think that in this type of photography, which is very emotional, especially if you want your customer to get undressed in front of your camera, they not only pay attention to the portfolio, but also how would they feel in front of you. Are you a good person? Are you a trustworthy person? Will you make him comfortable in front of your camera? And social media is a fabulous tool for that, because this is where you can present yourself, show what you do, how you do it, show behind the scenes, talk about your business, talk about experiences of your customers, and that also shortens the decision-making process by your customers.
I love that. And it really sounds like, from your experience, you understand the entire marketing, value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what else do you do with your clients to create an experience that, they're going to rave about? So it's not just like great photos. Do you, only do one session a day? Like, walk me through like the entire day that someone walks into your studio, and like, what do you do to like make it amazing?
I think that the most important thing about the customer experience is to change the relationship with the customer. Personally, I don't like expression customer, because that means that I'm a service provider. I don't like to feel like service provider. Service provider is a craftsman, someone who just, like in bakery, bakes the same cakes all over again. So I just try to switch that relationship from being a service provider and a customer to be someone who helps and addresses problems and complexes that my customer have, and also addresses the needs and expectations of having beautiful pictures, but mainly have a beautiful emotional experience. So whenever they will look at the pictures, they will remember not only how they look like on the image, but the first thing that comes to their mind is the impression of how they felt on that day. Like, it was such a great day. I felt so good. I felt so beautiful. I felt amazing. Someone finally said so many beautiful things about me, how I look, who I am. Someone finally talked to me the whole day long, because people want to talk about themselves. So I think the whole issue, or the whole key about having a good, like selling your sessions, is about creating emotions. That's the most important part.
I love that. I love your approach and just kind of your entire philosophy. What is like the hardest thing for you as a photographer today? Like, what is the number one challenge that you're kind of faced with?
I think it's marketing, because of the how the market changed in terms of how you reach your customers. There are tools that are fabulous and fantastic, like social media that I mentioned before, but the intensity and density of people like me and competitors, or other photographers, let's not call them competitors, but other photographers who are providing similar services, is making it very difficult to approach the audience. And not only that, but also the fact that our customers or our models are bumped with so many information, with so many images, with so many communications that are done through different channels of communication, that makes it difficult to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Have you used stuff like Facebook advertising in the past to, really target local people, or, have you ever paid for advertising? And if so, like, how did that work?
Well, I tend to not pay for that. I feel that organic growth and organic reach is much more valuable. So I prefer to create a content that is interesting for my audience. Right now, most of my communication is done to photographers, not only to my end-to-end customers. Yeah, I think that the value of the content is the most important. It's very difficult to do the advertising in a proper way. I did it just a few times, but personally, I'm a fan of organic growth on social media or Google, for example.
And are you primarily on Instagram? Are you doing TikTok? Are you huge on Snapchat? What are your like go-to social medias right now?
Well, my go-to social media is definitely Instagram and Facebook. I don't go on. I tried TikTok several times, but the very restrictive policy for nudity just made me stop it, because TikTok threatened me so many times to block my account that it doesn't make sense for me to post anything there, because it's being recognized by the algorithm as sexual activity.
Yep.
So I cannot post anything, even if the dynamics of changing the pictures is so high that it's very difficult to see that there is nude naked body. Nevertheless, TikTok blocks it all the time. So I prefer to stay on Instagram. Right now, after my Chinese trip, I discovered Redbook as well. This is a local Chinese social media platform, which has also a lot of possibilities to grow. So these are the free channels that I'm staying on. And also I use Google, because still there are so many nerds who do not use social media, that I believe that having a good presence in Google results is important to target those people.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I would probably argue and say Google is probably the most important thing to invest in. And like that would be like
Mhm.
Google My Business, having Google reviews, being
True.
having, yourself listed on Google Maps. Really, like there's so many different Google, you know, sections that, a
Hmm.
lot of people just don't know about, that all will funnel into Google Analytics to kind of give you hopefully like a source of truth of like, how are people finding me? Where are people coming in? Where are they, going on my website? That
Hmm.
often is very overlooked by, photographers, because it is confusing, and it is like it's getting harder and harder to track. So how big of a Google nerd are you? Like, are you handling that side of the business, or do you hand that off to someone else?
I did it by myself so far, but right now, with the a lot of work that I have with running workshops and traveling and doing sessions, I just signed a contract with a company that is doing that for me. So um, until now, I did my best to run the website, write blogs, update it, make sure that the pictures and the text are SEO optimized. It's, oh my god, that takes so much time. So now I have someone who's dealing with that, and I hope that it will decrease the amount of time that I'm spending on it.
Yeah, SEO is not something that happens quickly. It's something
Mm-mm,
that you really have to invest in, and then
mm-hmm,
over time it really builds. And it's honestly, that's really hard to do. A lot of people, want instant gratification on Instagram, instant likes, instant views. And SEO is probably the least sexiest part of your business, but probably the most important. So it sounds
Yeah.
like you're doing a good job there. I'd
Yeah,
love to get into your Instagram. Should we start
yeah.
there, or is your website a better place?
Again, sorry.
You want to go over your Instagram account, or is your website a better place to start?
I usually go to Instagram is the starting point, and then website.
All right, let's get into it. Let me share my screen, and then we will go from there. All right. You can see this?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. All right. So right away, shaping light. So maybe let's start there, because we've been talking about your being kind of like gels and a lot of color and neon, but you're also shaping light really, really well. So what are the tools you're using? Are you using constant lights? Are you using strobes? What's in your kit?
I use strobes. I work with up to 4 different lights. Like 3 of them are strobes, 1 constant light, and all of them come from one brand, and it's Godox.
Yeah, I love the options that we've been getting with, like, spotlights and lenses. Like, yeah. 5 years ago, like, it really wasn't available to do, like, or it was just extremely expensive. So like companies like Godox, Nanlite, Aperture, like I love all of the options that photographers have now.
The development of all the devices that are available right now on the market is fabulous. Like, you've got so many tools that you can work with. For me, it's an endless world of opportunities.
Yeah. So I see you're using a lot of probably like spotlights with like filters to create these patterns in the background. Like I love that. I love that. I mean, it's the same thing that I'm doing like right here in my background, creating.
I see that.
The exact same, and using like these Nanlite tubes. Like, it's just such an easy way to add light exactly where you want it.
Yeah. So I'm more analog, let's say it, because I used like sheets of gels. I like to combine colors by adding multiple ones. I also have LED with colors. However, I still prefer to work with gels. I don't know. It's just how I grew up my business, and I stick to this technical aspect.
So do you have, like, what are your go-to gels? Do you know them by memory, or?
It's just a brand. There are Roscoe gels. Yep. So I don't have like favorite ones. I just stack different gels together to get the proper color. Because it's like with fashion. I have fashion for blue. I have fashion for red. Right now, I'm all of a sudden obsessed with red gels, which I have never used in such a way like right now. So yeah, previously I was obsessed with blue. Now red. Sooner or later, I will turn to green, something like that.
And have you had a pink?
Yes, of course. Pink is the most requested.
I bet.
Remember that I'm working with future moms, so blue and pink are the colors that have to be in the studio, in not only the lights but also the outfits.
Yeah. So what you do is very revealing for people. They're at a very vulnerable moment. So how many of your clients are like, do not post any of my photos, or do they all kind of want you to post their photos?
Actually, I have like 1% of my customers do not requests not to be posted anywhere. The rest doesn't mind. I think it comes with the fact that most of my customers are there exposed in my social media, so I also attract people who want to be exposed.
Oh yeah.
And the type of photography that I'm doing, it's there are a lot of nude pictures, So people who see it and want to have it, they are also more open to showing their pictures to the wider audience. So honestly, in Poland, there is no problem with that. But when I travel to other countries, like Germany, or for example China as well, people are more secure when it comes to posting their pictures.
So the Germans don't want you to post their photos? I thought the Germans were pretty open.
No,
No, they're pretty all right.
no.
I
This is
thought Germany was known for having like all night sex clubs and like, you know, like, I thought they had the rowdiest clubs in the world. What's they just don't want to do
maybe part of the society, yes. However, I think I have the totally opposite experience, that most Germans are like, mm-mm, no, no, let's not show anything in the social media. I had really awkward situations, like people saying, you know, that right now the technology allows to when I photographed newborns, allows to track the face of a baby until they grow older based on the shape of this part of their face. So like really funny stories. So that's why they don't want to post even the pictures of a newborn baby, which, let's be honest, newborns, most of them look really alike. So it's
Yeah.
very difficult to distinguish whose baby is this. So yeah,
Yeah, I know.
that's
Like I mean, how often do you think someone who has twins mixes up the babies and like shit, which one's which? You know, like it has to have happened at least a few thousand times. You know, like I would mix it up if they were identical.
maybe. Right now they put bracelets on the on hands, so it allows to control it in a better way.
Yeah, but once you get home, you can't wear that bracelet forever. You know, those babies are getting
Who
mixed
knows?
up. So you're doing a lot. Are you seeing a lot of success with reels? It looks like you. I mean, you have a really good branding, and you are very clear in your in marketing with just even your font with your reels. So, are
Mhm.
these just really growing your business more than photos on Instagram?
Yeah, I noticed that the reach of reels and responses, like engagement of my potential customers who are photographers, is much higher than with photos. And I don't know how far how it is. Is it connected only with the algorithm of Instagram, or with the fact that with reel you can show more of behind the scenes
Yeah.
and tips and tricks,
Yep.
and also reels are more visually attractive and catch attention for longer than just a few seconds. And also people rather watch or listen than read what it's written in caption. But I think that reels are much more successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a decent amount of education on your site. And you had just mentioned, and we talked before, that you just went to China for a workshop. So, how long have you been teaching? And, you know, well, why do you teach?
I teach because I love it. I love meeting people in different countries, and actually teaching is something that I truly, yeah, I love it. I love it even more than creating stuff, creating the images. And I also love traveling, and that's why I worked on developing my skills so much, so I could later on sell my knowledge elsewhere. So right now, most of my business is teaching others, and just like 30% is our regular sessions that I have in my studio.
Nice.
Yeah. It changed a couple of years ago when I started to get requests from other photographers. They just contacted me over Instagram saying, "Hey Marta, I saw your work. It's nice. It's different. Is it possible to learn from you?" And a year later, I decided to release my first maternity workshop. I do it only in person. I don't have anything online, or I don't sell it on internet. I just travel to different countries to meet with people.
Nice. And so when's the US? I don't see US on here. You're just skipping it?
I was in I was in US last year. Might be coming next year.
We're gonna have to.
I don't have anything planned yet, but hopefully in the summer I will be there.
We're gonna have to plan something.
Yes.
All right. So how often do you use just one light? Just it's like a one light setup.
On every session, I think that one light setup is a very classical setup that it has to be done. And whenever I do a session or start a workshop with just one light setup, and I teach people how to work with just one light, because learning how to use one light is essential. Because if you add multiple lights to your setup, it gets much harder, much more difficult to combine all the lights together. So I use it every time, and I use it for, like, I call it a classical standard shots that I do at the very beginning of every session when I warm up together with my model.
Okay, cool. And will you accept? Is it only maternity if someone reaches out to you and wants to do more of like a boudoir, or do you say no, or like?
Oh, I do it as well. It's just boudoir. Boudoir is not with boudoir photography. People are less tend to expose their pictures online, and I stopped showing a lot of nudity on Instagram just to avoid shadow bans.
The
So you
shadow
don't see it
bands,
too much.
yeah,
Shadow
shadow
bans.
bands
It's
are
like
real.
sorry.
The shadow bands are real.
Well, right now there are not even shadow. There are official bans. When you
Yeah.
go to settings of Instagram account, there is information whether you breach any rules of Instagram, and your account might be green, orange, or red, depending on what you are posting and how algorithm assessed the content of your that you created. And whenever I post nude picture, unfortunately I get this ban which says that my content will not be shown to non-followers, will not be shown on the explore page, and will only reach very limited amount of my current followers. So when I got this ban, usually my reach drops by 90%. That's
Wow.
huge. Like,
Yeah.
really huge. And it takes a couple of days or sometimes even weeks to get rid of it, because you need to request review. And of course, algorithm still sees nudity. So it takes like 1 week, 2 weeks for the algorithm to finally accept the content. And yeah, that affects seriously the marketing communication to my audience. So I see ups and downs in my reach on social media. Like, for example, this picture.
Yep.
Yeah, I got banned because of that.
And they didn't make you take it down?
Well, I appealed like 3 times, and finally they accepted it. So I didn't have to put it down.
Yeah. So probably what's happening is a bot is seeing this and taking it down, and then you have to like get someone to an actual person to look at it. Is that what happened? Most likely.
I don't think that there is any actual person behind the appeal process. There are only bots or artificial intelligence.
Just like
I have never
just
reached
different levels of bots,
maybe.
smarter bots, more bossy bots as you get higher.
um, yeah, whenever I spoke to Instagram, I had the impression that the responses are generated automatically, but there
Yeah.
is no human behind it.
Well, this is amazing. So are you experimenting here with, is any of this long exposure, or are you adding
Yeah.
effects or overlays in post?
It's no, it's shutter drag.
Shutter drag. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you doing, I guess this is rear curtain sync or front curtain?
Yes.
Rear
Yeah.
curtain. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love it. So I saw, how often do you do black and white? Because this,
Every picture every image that I take, I turn into black and white as well,
oh, okay, cool.
because some of my customers prefer to the black and white version. However, I noticed that most of tech customers, even though they like black and white, when it comes to selecting their own images, they prefer the color version.
Yeah.
It's funny because I sometimes have customers who come to me and request very shadowy, moody, dramatic pictures. And I know from my experience that um, they like it when they look at it on Pinterest or any other social media platform. But when it comes to hanging their own pictures on the wall, they prefer more brighter ones. So I usually take images like the same pose with two different types of lighting. I just change the angle of the light or add additional source of light. And when it comes to selecting images, they usually select the brighter one.
Yep. All right. So what is the best tool to remove underwear?
The best tool is liquify.
So liquefy is removing
Yes.
underwear? All right.
No, my best tool is to talk with the customer and convince them to do it during the session, obviously. But if I'm not able to convince them, let's just get rid of everything, then liquify is my best tool to remove it.
Nice. And in terms of like a post-production workflow, are you shooting captured to like Lightroom or Capture One? Like what tools do you use in retouching?
Lightroom and Photoshop. So these are the two I download through Lightroom, make basic changes with color grading in Lightroom, and then I skip to Photoshop.
Nice. And do you use LUTs? Do you have your own presets? Like when do you do your color? Do you do it at the beginning or at the very end in Photoshop?
I do color at the two stages. At the very beginning, when I have the image downloaded to Lightroom, and then in the end, if after the whole skin retouching image does not look as I wished it to look, then I do the color grading in Photoshop.
Nice. I love it. So what has been your favorite shoot this year? And why was it your favorite shoot?
I think that the favorite ones happened in China, because they were so much different from what I experience here in Europe or any Western country. Because Chinese culture is so much different from ours. Chinese girls, first of all, have specific attitude to pictures. Pictures have to be modest. They have to present a delicacy of their beauty, and that affects also posing. So the posing there is just, I don't know how to describe it, like very eternal, um, romantic. So for me, it was a very interesting way of working, because my pictures are pictures of empowered, strong women, self-confident, and then you've got those tiny girls, actually women who look like teenagers. I had a girl who was 150 tall, so she was up to my breast here. She looked like 11-year-old girl, and she was 30 years old. And her beauty was so, like, face was so delicate. Yeah, and I had to show how I do my pictures my way, with models who are different. So that was the most challenging and nice experience that I had.
So did she have her own poses that she wanted to do? And was she like saying no to your poses?
They actually are very open to it, but they have habits that you have to work on, the way how they look, the way how they pose their face and the way how they pose their hips is different. Like they, I don't know how to describe it. It's just different.
Yeah, I mean, different cultures. I mean, obviously they're going to have a different approach to being on
Yeah.
set and different poses. So, um, how did that? How long did you set it up, this workshop, before going? And what was it like to try to produce it? Did you have a producer there, or how was it set up?
So it started with the one person contacting me. It was, I think it was in May, a representative of a Chinese photography association. It's because in China everything is more formal. So there, all the photographers belong to association, and this association organized a conference. They looked for photographers from Western world to show something new to their on their market, and they invited me for a conference that was held in August. And on this conference, I was offered to run a workshop for the biggest Chinese photography company. Photographers in China belong to companies. They don't have like their own businesses like we have here. Like I'm Marta Ponsko, I have my own business. No,
Really?
they are associated. Yeah, they have like huge companies. It's like they had 3 floors. I think 50 people were employed there, just photographers and videographers working for this company. So yeah, this company invited me for a workshop, and they requested like training all their staff, doing a few shots with photo shoots with their customers and with their models, so I could create portfolio for them, so pictures that they could later on show to their potential customers. So I spent 5 days photographing and teaching.
Interesting. And how has, I'm sure you talk to a lot of people. So is photography growing in China? And do you think people will ever like run their own business, or you'll only ever work for the man in China?
Well, I think it's a growing business, but it's difficult for me to say in which direction it will grow, because those companies are really really big
Yeah.
and are consuming the biggest cake of the market. Uh, but it's definitely growing, and it's a huge market. It's huge. So comparing to the place where I live, I was in Shanghai, 25 million people. Warsaw, my capital city, is 2 million people. My country is 36 million people. So it's like, one Shanghai is like a country.
Yeah.
So there is a huge potential, not only with local Chinese people, but also with expats who are living there, because it's uh, enormous city. So yeah, they have a lot to work on.
Yeah.
Huge
Yeah.
demand and huge potential.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what advice would you say? I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but what advice do you have for photographers that, are just starting out, that want to kind of, run a business like yours, or, create something similar to what you have?
hmm I think the most important is invest time and money in learning. um, Experiment. Don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to go out of the fashion zone. Because I think that the biggest problem of photographers who are starting business is that they believe that they, in order to be successful, they have to follow what other photographers are already doing on the market. And it's not true, obviously. They can find their own way, but it requires persistence, experimenting, working, and finding their own niche. And on top of that, I would say that photography business will not exist without proper marketing. You can be a fabulous photographer, but if your marketing sucks, sorry, you will disappear. So also invest either your time or your money into someone who would help you with proper channeling communication to the market about your services.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So let's say I suck at marketing and I don't even know where to begin with marketing. Like, where should I start? Like, what's step one with marketing?
Well, step one would be creating portfolio that is only yours, not a portfolio from workshops or, created based on someone else's work. But having a portfolio is the step one. Then the step two is defining who you want to target your service to. Based on that, you need to, first of all, set up a price, right? So how much you want to earn for the work that you're doing, because price also determines your target, your niche. And then when you find it, you need to understand where those people are looking for photographers. Are those people looking on Google or on social media? Are they more on Facebook or maybe on Instagram or maybe on TikTok, because you target young people, right? So that's the first questions that you need to ask yourself, and then start build your presence in those media that where you can find your potential customers.
Nice. I love it. Well, I really appreciate, spending the time and chatting with you. And I hope you come to the United States, and I would love to host a workshop with you or make content, because your work is absolutely amazing. So I really appreciate this time. And do you have any, I guess, final words or anything that you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I just want to thank you very much for this interesting conversation. I hope that with this broadcast, I will be able to spread a message and information about my work. And I invite all the photographers to my workshops that are held around the world. Feel free to ask questions if you have any through my social media. I'm on Instagram, Ponsko Portraits, or Facebook if you are there. Happy to help with any questions.
Nice. And there's links in your Instagram that go right to your workshop for people to sign up.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone that's watching. We appreciate joining us live. And if you aren't joining us live and you want to watch more of these, just go to learn.proedu.com and you can rewatch all of these interviews that we're doing with amazing photographers like her. So I appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.